Hi, this is Barbie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you card number 3 in my June Stamp of the Month kit. Here is the June Stamp of the Month. Every month you can get a different Stamp of the Month for that particular month. Any month that you get either by purchasing outright or getting for a discount or free the Stamp of the Month, you will get a kit from me. Now, this only applies to if you purchased it from my website. Now, you can get it for $19.95 outright, or with a $50 qualifying order, you get the Stamp of the Month for $5. That's terrific. But what's even better is if you're one of my VIPs, you will get the Stamp of the Month for absolutely free with your $50 qualifying order. Now, for July, if you purchase the Stamp of the Month, you will get a kit from me with 3 to 5 cards designed especially for my customers. This is the one for June, and I am using that tree line stamp for this particular card. Now, in the Stamp of the Month kits that I send you, you will need to have a card base, but you will get from me all the other papers and embellishments when necessary to complete your card. So for this card, you need a standard size card, and you will get a piece of honey that is 5.5 by 4.25, a piece of white daisy that is 5.25 by 4, and a piece of acetate for the technique that I'm going to be teaching you. So we're going to start with this piece of white daisy, and I'm going to bring in my all-purpose mat. I love this mat. I've cut it into 3 sizes so I can have a nice size for just doing cards. When you're done with it, you can just wipe it off with a baby wipe or run it under water to clean it off. Quick and simple. So we're going to have the stamp going across the center of the card about 1 7/8 inches up from the bottom. And so I'm going to draw a line on my piece of white daisy so that I know where that stamped image is going to go. So I can build my sunset from that line upwards and my reflection from that line down. If you want your reflection tree line a little bit differently placed than what I've done, please feel free to do so. These are just suggestions. Please make it your own. So now that I have that line, I know exactly where that stamp is going to go when I go to stamp it. So I'm going to start with the honey butter ink first, and I'm going to pick it up with the blending brush. I don't have my close to my heart blending brushes handy, so I'm just using these other ones, but they work pretty good. So I'm going to go across just above that pencil line that I drew. Now, the intensity that you use will depend on how much ink you put on your blending brush, how hard you push down. Everybody's is going to be a little bit different. Work with what you want, your desired intensity. Now, what I'm doing for where the reflection is, I'm going to do a little lighter than where the sunset is. Not going to have it quite so vibrant. You'll notice I'm tapping off on that piece of scratch paper. That is because when you first ink up your blending brush, there's so much ink on it that if you touch it immediately to your cardstock, it may make a little darker blot. So I always tap it off first. So now you can see I'm using the Sundance, and I'm going across the top of the honey butter so that the two overlap slightly, and then just continuing up the page. Because I want my reflection lighter than my sunset, I'm not going to use any of the Sundance ink down in the reflection area. Next, I'm going to the Nectarine ink, and this one I want to make sure I really do blot it off because it is darker in color. And I'm going to overlap that Sundance a little bit and just continue up the page, probably another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch upwards. You may think that this kind of looks a little blotty, but once it dries, it blends out beautifully. Really, really nice. So if you just come back a few hours later, you'll see that it miraculously has blended out. So I'm just going to go up a little bit more, and I just continue to overlap that Sundance a little bit. I am going to use just a little bit of the nectarine down in the reflection area, not a whole lot. I'm not going to make it too dark, but I do want a little bit down there. Next, we're going to be going to our blues. So I'm going to move the nectarine out of the way. I have two different blues. I have Sapphire, which I'm going to use first, and then I'll be using the Harbor. The Sapphire is one of our older style ink pads. I really like our newer ones that have the magnetic lid. They're really easy to use, stay put, easy to pull off. So I'm just going over the whole rest of the area up on the top portion with this Sapphire ink, blending it down just slightly onto the nectarine, not much. And then I'm going to do it on the lower portion as well. Again, keeping this a little lighter than what is up in the top. And I'm going to go over that honey butter and the nectarine because we want this to look like a reflection of the sunset on the water. So you don't want to see those colors real vibrantly. Next, I'm going to take the Harbor and I'm just going to use it only across the very top of my paper. I don't want to bring it too far down. I don't want to use it in my lake. I just want it across the top of my sky. And then when I've got the intensity that I desire, then I'm going to go back over all of the blue with the Sapphire once more. And that will just help really blend the two blues together. Whenever you use a lighter color to blend, it helps it blend more evenly. So I'm just going to go over that whole blue area with the Sapphire to really make that blend out nicely. Next, I'm going to go backwards and go to the nectarine. We're going to just work backwards back through those colors. And I'm going to take the nectarine and I'm going to go over where the two meet, the nectarine and the Sapphire, just to help blend that out because, again, the nectarine is lighter in color. So it's going to help with that blending process. If you don't have the particular colors that I've used, please feel free to use any colors that you desire and maybe practice it on a piece of scratch paper to make sure that you really like the colors you've chosen. Maybe get the idea of the technique down before you go to the pieces that I've given you. So next I'm going to go back to that honey butter and I'm going to go over the entire area of honey butter, Sundance, and nectarine to blend those three out. So I'm really liking the way this sunset is turning out. So I can go ahead and put my inks aside and go ahead and put my all-purpose mat away. I'll go ahead and wash it off later. And I'm going to go ahead and pull in my stamping platform. I've already adhered the tree line stamp to it and stamped it one time so that I know where to place my paper so that that pencil line is right there where the black is going to be. I want it to cover it up, but I don't want it really above or below the line. And I'm going to use some washi tape to just hold my paper in place. Whenever I'm stamping something that I know I'm probably going to have to stamp more than once, I like to use my stamping platform because I know I'm going to get it back in the exact same place. So I'm going to ink up the tree line stamp with my black ink and then close it. And I'm going to take a candle holder that I've put a piece of felt on to help make sure I get nice, firm, even pressure across that. And then I'm going to go ahead and ink it up one more time because I want that tree line to be really, really dark. And so a second time is needed for that. So I'm really liking that. I'm going to go ahead and take it off the platform so that now I can go ahead and put my acetate on there and we can stamp the same image onto the acetate. So I'm going to ink up that stamp and then we can go ahead and stamp it onto the acetate. Now, because the acetate isn't porous, the ink is just going to set on it, and that way we can then transfer it over to our paper. Again, I'm going to use my little candle holder to make sure I get nice firm surface. I don't want anything missing. And then I'm going to carefully pull this up, making sure I don't touch any of the inked areas because I don't want to mess up my image. I'm going to pull my paper in and flip the acetate over, and then make sure that I line those trees up. And so I'm going to use that evergreen one that's pretty much in the center to help make sure I get everything lined up. And then I'm going to use one finger to hold it in place while I use another finger to smooth over it to transfer that ink from the acetate onto the white daisy cardstock that we have made our reflection on. Isn't that beautiful? I just love the way it turned out. I can see that many reflections are going to be in my future. So let's go ahead and take the stamp, Grateful for You. And originally I wanted it in the upper portion, but it came out so dark that I decided to put it down in the reflection. And I'm going to hold that stamp in place for a second or two because I want to make sure that the ink really absorbs into the paper, because since it's on a block, it'd be too hard to restamp it again and get it back in the same place. So I really love the way that turned out. And now we can go ahead and put our card together. So we're going to take that piece of honey and we're going to put some adhesive on it and then mount it to our card base. I always like to make sure I line up the edge that has the folded portion of the card base with my cardstock so that if my cut was off a little bit, I can cut it off. Now this is going to be a vertical card, even though I have that card base lying horizontally. I don't know why I did that. Who knows where my brain was. Anyways, I'm going to put some adhesive on the back side of this piece that we made our reflection on and stamped our image. And then I can turn my card, make sure I've got the fold on the left-hand side. I like an 1/8 inch of colored cardstock around my stamped image because it really makes it pop, in my opinion. So here are the 4 cards that you get in my Stamp of the Month kit. I hope you enjoy making them. And here are different ways that you can keep an eye on what I'm doing. If you like this video, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel, and you have a very blessed day.